Okay, this is basically an introduction to Ableton, as we talked about in our short meeting today. And what you're doing is starting up Ableton in the lab and kind of getting to know the user interface. And I'm just going to open this up a little bit and show you again kind of what this is. Now, each of these vertical strips is an instrument. You can have a MIDI instrument that is basically controlled by the keyboard. It's called a soft synth or a software synthesizer. Or you can have audio, which is basically where you trigger the playback of an audio file. So those are the two differences in what we're doing here. So we're going to be working with MIDI only. So we're going to create, the assignment is to create two scenes of soft synths in one sampler. So create an Ableton set in which you build 3 triggered scenes in Ableton. Your Ableton set must involve multiple instrument tracks. 2 scenes of soft synths in one sampler. So going back over here, let me explain what a scene and an instrument is. So these are instruments. And in these instruments, you create sequences. So if we go over here to instruments, and you can go to, let's find just anything really. You can go to operator. Let's find, I'm looking for ambient and evolving. Perfect. And we'll drag that into our first MIDI example here. And let me make sure this is going to get sent to your output. So yeah, no, it's not. So output device should be loopback. There we go. Okay, so let's say you record a few sounds. Again, we're kind of interested in making weird sounds. So this instrument is basically this patch. I can put a different instrument in the second MIDI track. And so what you're doing is kind of building, you're building a series of instruments to sequence, okay? In this little rectangle here is these are called clips. So if you double click a clip, you get a MIDI sequencer down here, okay? All the other bells and whistles on this stuff, you don't really need to worry about. It's really more about just kind of creating a sound in any of these clips. So double click in here, and if you click this circle over here, oops, I have the wrong track enabled. Excuse me. Go down over here to record, enable your track, and you hit this circle record. It'll record a loop. Okay, so all I did was just strike some random keys. And literally that's kind of what you're doing, is you're just creating a sequence to experiment with. Down here are my MIDI impulses that were recorded in this piano roll, and you can move them around to adhere to the musical timeline or however. You can also double click into this section to create notes. So you don't have to record live. You can double click into the grid. And so that's a way to get a clip going. And so in this one, I am going to record, enable my next one, and solo it, and record it. And it makes another loop. It basically makes a loop out of I just made some random sounds on my MIDI trigger keyboard. And so I made a clip here with this instrument. I made a clip here with this instrument. So way over here is the master control strip. And you basically can play both sequences at the same time by hitting play over here. If I So this master control, oh, stop it. So this master will control, this is where the scenes are. So this is a scene. This master strip is showing you all the different kinds of scenes that can take place. So basically you're creating two instruments, you're recording multiple different kinds of possibilities in each one. Oops, no, this one. And turning that into a loop. You can change the size of your loop. You can go in here and make more recordings, and so on and so forth. So that's the two instruments and the multiple scenes that you're triggering. So this scene will trigger this one with another variation, and this scene will trigger this one and another. So you can basically build your parts underneath each instrument. I hope that makes sense, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. Now on to the sampler. So a sampler is really great because it is playing back an audio file. Basically, you can load your own audio file, or it'll play. Let me actually, I'm getting a little confused. Okay, let me go into this one. Let's do rock blip. So notice down here we have an audio file loaded. So it's kind of a simple blip. It's mallet sort of oriented. These are shorter and so on. So if I wanted to record a sequence of these things, I could record enable, and you could even solo it and click this button here and record and play it back. So I'm making just really quick fire, silly things on here, but you can make these as interesting as you can. So this is a little bit of a rhythmic thing that I made with this sampler. And you can use the mixer to kind of raise or lower the levels of each one of these layers. So what we're talking about is creating a sampler and two synthesis tracks and sequencing a part in each one. And that's our first shot at Ableton, just exploring the instruments, the sampler, and the other instruments that are available here. So good luck and have fun. If you have any questions about the way that this program works, we can address it this week in our lesson.